All right, so when it comes to determining where you want to hunt, that's a huge factor.
Yeah.
And basically what we're talking about is not the type of ground that you're on, but whether you're going to try and hunt on public ground or private. And they both have some good benefits, some pros and cons for each.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're hunting private, for instance, it's the basic common sense stuff. You want to make sure that you have permission first and foremost, right?
Yep.
And just thinking about this, not only if you do get permission to hunt private ground, you might want to ask the landowner, the farmer, whoever, if they've allowed other people to have permission. Because you want to know your hunting pressure. You want to know who else is there, and you want to be able to respect them too.
Yeah.
So it's a big component.
Definitely important to know who's going to be running around out there too for safety, because some of the strategies that we'll discuss in the strategies section you don't want to do if it's an area that you think there's going to be other hunters running around. I mean, you don't want to take the chance of doing a technique that might get somebody shooting at you thinking you're a tom. So safety is another factor too. As far as private ground, probably the biggest pro is that you're on ground that's not getting ran over by a bunch of other people. So you can kind of control how things are happening on that ground a little bit better.
Yeah.
However, the cons to it is typically you're talking smaller pieces of ground. So, some of the strategies like run and gun, you're not going to have that option. You may be hunting on 40, 50 acres as opposed to on state ground at maybe, tens of thousands of acres.
Yeah. I hunt a piece of ground that's pretty small, and there's I think 2 other people that hunt it right now. So one of the things that I did right off the bat is I got their name and number and I contacted them. Said, how long you been hunting here? I have permission to hunt this as well, but I respect you as a hunter. When are you going to be out there hunting? There's certain days of the week that you're off work that you can get out there, where you're going to be parking, where you're going to be setting up. What is your strategy? Are you going to be sitting in a blind, or are you going to be running and gunning? Because instantly when we know the answers to those questions, it helps us determine not only where we should hunt, but maybe we can take advantage of their strategy as well. They might be moving birds and pushing birds onto us, but it's good to know all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when it comes to hunting on public ground, of course, you've got tons of ground to choose from. And that's one of the great things with our country is we've got so much ground available to be able to hunt on. That allows you the option of taking off, running and gunning, working harder than the other guys, getting further back in, getting on new birds if the one that you're working gets busted.
Yeah.
Gives you all kinds of advantages. The downside to it, of course, then is that you've got all kinds of people that are going to be on that ground too. So any tips or strategies we can
and unknown people, and it's going to be day by day basis too. You don't know who's going to be out there, what they're doing. You don't have a way to contact them, and get that information.
Yeah. One tip that we may give as far as hunting on public ground, those birds are hearing a lot of calls over the course of the season, especially as the season progresses on and on. More and more people calling, and they can actually get call shy pretty quick.
Right.
So sometimes if you're hunting on public ground, you're going to be way better doing soft, subtle, little clucks and purrs and things like that, rather than hitting that box call like crazy. Because those birds, they'll actually get so educated that they'll learn to not go towards you if they hear that big yelp.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, another point too, going back to, well, let's say both, whether you're hunting private ground or public ground, respect the property no matter what. If a farmer or a landowner gives you permission to hunt that ground, take that seriously. We advise, finding out what their rules and regulations are, and respect that. Respect their property lines. Don't cause a problem. Don't have the neighbor being frustrated calling that farmer, because anything like that is, it's opening a door to get you kicked off the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so hard to get good pieces of private ground that you really have to do everything you can to maintain and foster that relationship and make them want you to keep coming back year after year.
Yeah, and we've even went as far as giving a gift card or a stick of summer sausage or anything like that, just to show a token of our appreciation.
Yep. So where you choose to hunt, private or public ground, that's a decision that each person's going to have to make, and they have pros and cons for both. And, sometimes the best thing to do is hit both. If you can get some good private ground, have that as your honey hole, but don't be afraid to get out there and learn on the public ground, because you can learn a ton out there too.